Now we're recording.
And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. We're going to do a little take two here because someone forgot to hit record. Today's episode is with my buddy Joe Santamaria, who was the head coach at Rocky Mountain for their baseball team. He's coached throughout the Treasure Valley. He actually helped me get my first coaching job at Capitol High School, which I since left. But it's good to have him on here. We're going to talk a little bit about coaching and things like that. So here we go. Joe, welcome back. I'm gonna double check here. We got the recording going. I can see the counter going down. So, hey, before we get started here, we're gonna start over here. Can you kind of just give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and we'll dive into the coaching part a little bit more.
You bet. Let's see. Born and raised in Boise. Went to high school at Bora. Married now for 11 years with almost a 2-year-old. Started coaching right after high school. I'm a teacher as well. Me and Wes went to school together, somehow passed. So,
we had that conversation yesterday. I was interviewing one of our former classmates, Dan Miller, and we talked a little bit about that. And, you came up and we talked a little bit about you and we had some good times at Boise State. I mean, we got our bachelor's degree pretty much together. And I think your first impression of me probably wasn't that great. And I actually talked to Dan about that a little bit more. But, it
was good. It's good times. Good times. We pulled our resources together.
Quite frequently.
Quite frequently, yes. No, I learned a lot and made good friends. And, it's cool to keep in touch with everybody. So.
Yep. So you mentioned that, you grew up in Boise and you started coaching baseball right out of high school. I know you had some issues. Your mom was kind of sick and things like that. You had a scholarship to go play soccer and ended up coaching baseball. Kind of two different things. We kind of talked about that a little bit. It's like one you run a lot and one you don't. What happened with that? Because you had to make a choice with that. So how'd that go?
So growing up, my dad's from Spain. He was my soccer coach growing up. I was really involved in soccer, really my whole, younger years and into high school. I didn't pick up baseball till I was probably in middle school, mainly because my friends were playing it, so I wanted to hang out with them. So kind of multi-sport athlete you don't see very often. So, eventually in high school, I had to make a decision what to focus on. So soccer you can kind of play year round. So in the spring, I had to give up my club soccer. So I just played high school soccer in the fall and high school baseball in the spring.
So you had a choice though, right? You talked about how like it was at one point you thought about giving up baseball, which it seems like you excelled pretty well in baseball, especially being in it since middle school, which is kind of crazy. But so what was the choice? It was either continue baseball.
I felt, baseball is tough, and I know we'll talk about the coach I had, and it was tough. It was a lot of work, and I kind of came to a crossroad where I'm like, where do I want to put my time and energy? So I was going to take the easier path and just focus on soccer, and the baseball coach pulled me in and pretty much told me I wasn't going to quit. So but I had to make a decision. I had to go all in. While I was playing baseball, I had to go all in and, do it the right way. I didn't want to half-ass it. So, then I
What
just
grade
kind of
was
grew up.
this that you had to make that decision? What were you, a freshman, or were you what grade were you in?
So I played JV as a sophomore, and then that next spring as a junior, I was gonna call it quits and focus on soccer. So, um, yeah, as a junior, and
Yeah.
I hadn't played varsity baseball yet or anything. So, um, but
So
he,
he obviously had to have saw something if he thought that, here you are a junior and you're talking about quitting baseball your junior year to pursue soccer. There had to be something that was there in it. I'm assuming, I'd grown up in a small town. There was probably, 17 kids that went out for the team and they keep 15, so they got to cut two. And
right,
I'm assuming like at your in your and we had a freshman JV and varsity team. But at your level, I'm guessing that there was probably quite a few more people here in Boise in the level of school that you had that were coming out for it. So it was probably a little bit harder or larger talent pool, right?
yeah, I think the main reason he wanted me around or to keep me around was my sophomore coach, Derek McCormick, saw something in me, and he's like, "You got to talk to him because he shouldn't be quitting because he's." I guess I was good enough to not to quit. So
So speaking of Derek, I mean, this is kind of where you're coaching. Like everyone has a coaching tree, right? I feel like mine kind
for
of
sure,
branched off from you because you introduced me to the people that I was with, and we were taking some classes together. But Derek was your JV coach. Is that what you said?
yeah, he was the sophomore JV coach, and then also in the summer for Legion Ball, he was the they called it single A, so the younger team coach. So
Okay. And
um,
Jake Taylor, who I student taught with, was the head varsity coach, who has now
right,
moved on to he retired, and we'll get to that. And then he ended up going and coaching. Now he's the head coach at Lewis and Clark State College in where the heck is it? Lewiston, Lewiston, Idaho. Yep. So you coached with Derek at BK a little bit after you coached the freshman team with Jake. Talk a little bit about the difference between those two guys because I feel like you're somewhere in the middle.
yeah, they're very different. They have different styles, but they both motivate their players really well, and they both care a lot about their players. So, um, yeah, Derek probably more a players coach, kind of calmer, interacts more, communicates more. He coaches girls basketball now, so
Mm-hmm.
uh, he's done that for quite a while. Jake, a little more. I don't know. It's hard to. He's just intimidating. I don't even know if that's the right word. He's like you were kind of saying before. You don't want to disappoint him because you know how much he cares, and you know he puts a lot into you. So there is some pressure there. So I kind of use the approach, kind of balance that. I want to show the players I care, but I don't want to have them feel so much pressure where they might not succeed because of that pressure.
So you graduated from high school, and Jake is. You decided that you couldn't go to college. You had to hang out because of your mom's health issues. Did Jake approach you and ask you to coach, or did you go say, "Hey, do you need a coach?" How'd that work out?
So let's see, I was 18, um, and they developed like a freshman team for the Boise schools, and that hadn't been done before. Now they do it all the time, but so me and another player decided to coach that team. We went 22-0, won the championship. I thought this was pretty easy stuff. So that was kind of my first taste. And then I reached out to Jake, and I did assistant JV the next year. And then I was gonna try to go play baseball somewhere. Actually, still. So I didn't tell him I wanted to coach the next year. So he filled that spot, and I didn't have a coaching job. So at that time, McCormick was coaching the softball team. He was the varsity softball coach. So he needed some help. So I wouldn't coach JV softball um,
A
for
little
a
different.
year, a little different. And then he left to go coach basketball. Then I took over. So I was the varsity softball coach at Bora for 1 year. I know this is getting complicated. Then Jake went to Rocky.
Dude, hold
And then
on a second here though.
I followed
This
Jake.
is a crazy thing. Is like you. How old were you when you were the varsity softball coach?
I think I was 20, maybe 21, just right in there. I was
This is
young
crazy.
youngster.
At a 5A school in Boise. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then Jake, so Rocky Mountain High School, which is a school here in Meridian, I student taught there, opened, and they
Right.
had a new program, and Jake went that way.
Right. And he asked me to come with him. So I kind of had to make a decision. Do I continue doing softball or go help Jake? And, either I really enjoyed coaching softball. Coaching girls was awesome. They listen to you. They're loyal. It was really fun. But I had a good opportunity to go start that program at Rocky. And the first year I was on varsity as an assistant. And after being a head coach for a couple of years, I found real quickly, I'm like, I don't care to be an assistant. So the following years, I went down to be the head freshman coach, which I really love too, because those freshman kids, they want to listen. They're there. They're bought in. They don't know anything. So it was great for me every year I had to teach them the basics and the foundations. So it really helped me as a coach, just doing it every year, just restarting.
I'm laughing because I think that it's funny that this is the way I had a conversation. So I sell window coverings now, but I taught PE for 4 years, which and one of the parents was talking about or one of the people that I was selling window coverings, like, oh, I see you're a teacher, because you were a teacher. They send your bio out to everyone every time I go to a customer's house, and I said, yep, I was. And they're like, what grades? And I told them, well, I taught middle school for 2 years and high school for 2 years. And they're always like, oh, high school. Ugh. And I was like, you know what? It's really not that bad. It's the classes that are not fun are the ones that graduate. So seniors, 8th graders, 5th graders, like they seem to be like, and I don't want to say they're the worst, but they're just different. Like they know it all. Like you said, the freshmen don't know it all, or at least they don't think they know it all. Where when they become a senior, their attitude's a little bit different. So I can understand why freshmen would be easier. And I was the head freshman coach at Milton my last year, and that was just probably the funnest coaching experience I had, because they're like a sponge, ready to absorb whatever you give them.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did you coach the freshman team for?
Dude, I'm bad at remembering. I think it was 5 years, 4 or 5. Me and my buddy Corey did it for quite a while, and we won 3 district championships in a row. And not that it's all about that, but it was kind of cool and fun. And then eventually, I had to make another decision. So I was the freshman coach, doing well, enjoying it. And then we did our student teaching, and I did mine at BK. And McCormick, back to McCormick, he got the head baseball job there, and he hadn't coached baseball in quite a while. So he asked me to come help him start that program. So I think it was 2015. I went over there and helped him for 1 year, and it was kind of cool because I was kind of doing the coaching, but he had to deal with all the BS with the parents and all that. So it was nice.
I remember the cool thing about that was, like, every time I've talked to you, it's always about, like, what can I do to make myself better? What's the next level I want to get at? Where am I going to be? And you weighed the options of being at a freshman coach or going to be the head assistant varsity coach at another school, because Jake wasn't going anywhere. I mean, when those head coaches do well, when they're successful, they kind of stay there. And, How did that conversation go with Jake when you're like, hey, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I remember that conversation. It was tough, and he didn't want me to go, and but he's like, hey, do whatever you think is right. It's hard to find good coaches, so I know we had I was a freshman coach at Rocky, and then our JV coach was there for quite a while, Elliot Graham, and then we had a good system going. So I know it was hard for him to lose me, but at the same time, I was getting to the point where I want to be a teacher. I do want to be a head coach down the road. So I knew starting programs was important in my development. So I just thought there would be an opportunity there. And, it worked out well. BK is different than other schools. So it was interesting to see that side of a different school. But yeah, that was a hard conversation with Jake, but he got it. He was fully supportive. And he said, anytime you want to come back, come back.
Well, and Rocky is one of the top 5A schools in baseball anyway. And the year before they had won the state championship, right? The varsity team had. I think it was the year before you went.
They won in 2012. So yeah, it probably was around there. Yeah.
So then you go to BK, and Jake decides that he is the next year after you coached at BK, he was going to step down. How'd that go? What happened there? That was kind of an interesting thing. I remember the excitement in that one. I think that we were both going to be head coaches at the same year. I'm pretty sure. You had a little bit better coaching career than I had. I had only been coaching for 1 year, but how'd that go?
So, yeah, I think Jake got to that point, which I felt too, and we'll probably get to that later. But, he had 2 girls in high school that played softball and a younger son. And, he wanted to hang out with his daughters, I think. And so he quit the varsity baseball job and went over and helped the softball team.
And then you got the opportunity to apply for the head coaching job at Rocky, right? Which was kind of like a dream. You wanted that all along.
Yeah,
not at Rocky, but you wanted to be a head coach, right?
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting that job to open anytime soon. So I actually, though, me and my wife were looking to move to Arizona at the time. So I was actually interviewing and applying for jobs in Arizona. I didn't apply for the Rocky baseball job right away. And then so it was open for a couple weeks. They weren't hiring anybody. And then Jake finally calls me. He's like, "Hey, you got to apply for this, man. You got a shot here." So me and my wife had a conversation.
Heart to heart.
I had to buy her a dog, but to stay in Boise. But
that was a good trade-off. Stay in Boise for a dog.
I know. So anyway, I applied, interviewed the next day. I remember getting the call. We were at PetSmart or something because we literally went and bought a dog. And yeah, they offered it to me, and I took it.
And so you coached. So it was kind of cool because your first year you had a winning record, right?
Yeah, the first year was tough. That was 2016, I think. As a freshman coach and a assistant varsity, like, you don't realize everything that goes into being the head coach of the whole program. So, and then stepping in after Jake was also, he's a legend. So
right.
I had to do it my way, but I wanted to keep it the same. So it was a good learning experience. But yeah, let's see. I can't remember our record, but yeah.
It had to be helpful, though, that you had coached some of these kids before. Like, they knew who you were. They were probably pretty used to the way that you coached because you probably coached them as a freshman. You took a year away, and then when you came back, you were coaching some of the same kids you coached as a freshman.
Yeah,
so
that was
have an understanding of them, right?
Cool. Yeah, the kids were great. It's just all the other stuff you have to deal with, and it's never good enough for the parents and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think looking back, it's funny because I told you, I was not a very good baseball player, but I understand after coaching, like actually being a coach, what a lot of those decisions that the coach had to make were, which, because you don't see that. Because a lot of times with like a varsity coach, their job is reliant on them winning. And if they don't win, then they're not going to be there. But you still have those parents who think that their kid is better than the next guy who's playing. So you have to deal with that as well. So that's kind of right.
Parents bring me stats, and Johnny's hitting 350, and this kid's hitting 220. I'm like, well, yeah, but he has 10 at bats, and right. They don't realize we evaluate them all the time at practice, and I have no horse in the game. Like, I want to put the best team out there regardless. So
yeah, Was that different? Was that a different way that you looked at it when you were coaching freshmen versus varsity? What was your, because I feel like it levels, you're trying to see more out of those younger kids where winning is important, but not as important as evaluating so that they can feed into the next level.
Yeah, development. So freshman, I was more developing. That was probably the hardest part, balancing the winning, and because I was young and I wanted to win, and
Right.
but realizing, oh, I got to develop these kids so they're successful down the road to get them to varsity. So yeah, we had a lot of talent at Rockies. So and they're so young as a freshman, they're going to develop physically on their own. So yeah, you have to mix in opportunities and then try to balance that with competing and wanting to win. So
yeah,
but yeah.
So second year rolls around and what happens? I know you don't like to talk a lot about yourself, so you're gonna have to though. You're gonna have to.
Well, we had a good team, and we won state that year. So, yeah, it was a good year. But also, that state team was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but just because we won state, like a lot of my other teams I've coached, it's hard. Each team's different.
Right.
That team was really talented, but I've had other teams that buy in even more, and we just don't win state. Like, you need some luck, you need some skill, you need a lot of things. But yeah, that was a good year. We had a lot of good senior leaders. A couple have been starting to coach now, like in the summers. So it's cool when it comes back around.
How do you talked about them buying in, because I think that's really important, is getting the team to buy into your philosophy, buy into the way that you do things. Was that a struggle with certain teams, and what did you do to get people to buy into what you were selling? I mean, that's basically what you're doing. You're selling your program, right? You're a salesman, and you're getting them to believe in you. How did you get them to buy in?
Yeah, that second year when we won state, I think my philosophy kind of changed, because in 2016 I was more of the old school type coach, and it wasn't working as well. So I was focusing more on my senior leaders, and if I can get their buy-in, that's going to flip the rest of the team. If you have more guys doing it the right way, eventually those other guys are going to come on board or leave.
Right.
But yeah, it's a challenge, and they're young kids. Like, they go home, their parents talk crap about the coaches or why we do this. They're in a tough spot too. But if you can get them to buy in and realize it's their team, I'm just around. It's all on them. I don't throw a pitch. I don't have, I don't hit the ball. It's all on them. So once they bought in, it makes it a lot easier. I remember first day of practice, actually. Of course, it's snowing, so we're in the gym. Welcome to Idaho.
Right.
We're in the upstairs side gym, and I just remember Nolan Walker. Pretty much, we're not doing like this is my. I think he was a senior. He's like, this is my senior year. We're doing it this way. Buy in right now, and that kind of set the tone. Much better for him to do it than me.
Right. Exactly. Because they don't look at the coach the same way that they look at their peers. And if they can get those peers involved in that situation, it's a whole different story.
Oh, yeah.
So you have since retired from coaching. I think it's going to be I don't know how long this retirement's going to be, but you had a son, right? And that kind of played into your decision to kind of spend some more time with him and be able to get to develop him. Do you ever plan on returning back to coaching?
I don't know. Well, I'll kind of walk it through. So I coached from 2016 to 2021. By the end of
that,
it,
right? Because
as the head the head rock coach. Sorry. But by the end of that, being the head coach of the program, it was kind of draining. It was kind of sucking the reason of why I started to coach. So I
It wasn't
wasn't.
fun anymore.
It was, yeah, it was hard. It was. I wasn't focusing on the most fun parts of it that I really enjoyed, the development, the kids, the competing. I was dealing with you know, finding coaches and schedules and dealing with parents and ads and all that fun stuff. So it was a good timing, I think. And then COVID hit, so our 2020 season, we had probably one of the best character teams we would have had, and that we played one game or two and then it got shut down. But that spring, not coaching, I got to spend time with my new baby, with my wife. I didn't realize how much time and energy baseball was taking from me. So so then the next year, I kind of stepped back. I let my assistant kind of run it. I was still doing all the background stuff. And then I finally made a decision. I said, I can't be the best husband and dad I want to be and the best coach I want to be. I just didn't have the time and energy for it. So when I thought about it that way, it was an easy decision. And then I have a young assistant coach that's ready to jump in and give it 100%. So I kind of made that decision. It was hard, but I knew the decision before I made it, but it was just hard to something you build up and care about so much, just to give it away. So
I think that's the hardest thing. It's a hard decision no matter what you do. I think at the time when I quit working at Les Schwab, to go back to college, and then at the time when I quit teaching to go be a salesman, it's a tough decision because you've put all this time and effort into it, but you have to weigh what's better, just like you did, and chose, family over the team, which you had to. I mean, that's I always kind of find that hierarchy of the way that things are supposed to go, and family's kind of number one. So,
well, not only it was best for me and my family, but it was also best for the program too,
right.
because it was time.
Yeah.
It was time. So, but yeah, as far as your question, I don't know. I might start doing some lessons. I might eventually go back as an assistant, and then things change pretty quick, as we learned these last few years. So, if a good opportunity comes, I don't know, or I might just be a t-ball coach and coach your son with you, and that's the good stuff.
That would be fun, I'm sure. I never got a chance to coach with you, but we talked a lot about philosophy and how things go, and we kind of set up two programs the same way, and it was kind of fun. So I always enjoy that back and forth conversation that we have, and I'm glad that we continue to do that. So, well, hey, it's been awesome having you on here, and I know typically I ask people, hey, where can they find you on social media, or if they want to reach out to you, but I don't know that necessarily applies to you. Maybe it does. If you want to tell people, where they can follow you, you can. But
I'm good, I think.
I kind of figured. If you want to talk to Joe, hit me up. I'll hook you up.
Yeah, there you go.
So the show's called Shaping Success, and the reason that I kind of wanted to have you on here, because I think that you have a great story. We're talking about, going through some of the trials and tribulations that you went through, starting out as, freshman coach, softball coach, and then becoming a state champion high school baseball coach, which is just an awesome story. But again, the show's called Shaping Success, and the reason why I do it is because I want to show other people that they can do whatever it takes. They can do whatever they want. You have the choices, and you can build that success however you want. Someone once told me that they were going to be twice as successful as me when they graduated from high school and when they graduated from college and when they became an adult. And I was like, that's bullshit. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me what that looks like. So if you had to define success, how would you define the shape of your success?
That's a good question. I think it depends where you are in life. I think it's always changing. If you asked me that when I was 21 and needed to finish school, and I had all these goals. But now, being an old man, all of a sudden I don't know where all the time went. I think you just got to be real with yourself and do what makes you happy, do do what's right, do it your way. And, it's not always going to work out. But as long as you're growing, developing, trying, like you in this show, like pretty cool how you've come around and you try different things. I remember golfing with you and you're trying to sell ads and all this stuff. Now it's just like, I just kind of like it. It makes me feel good. And that's the cool part. So you just gotta, I don't know the answer. You just gotta do what makes you feel good.
Yeah. I think you said it. I think you got to do what makes you happy. And that's really what it is. It's being happy in what you do. And I think that the other thing too, for both of us, is doing whatever it is the best you can, no matter what, just developing over and over again. And that's what I like. I think that one of the biggest things that I've learned through this is you draw people to you who have the same values and want the same things. And that's what I like. I mean, that's what I think. I think surrounding yourself with people who have the same values, the same thought process, always wanting to be better no matter what. And then it's really hard right now because there is, we're so divided as a country that knowing that you and I can have a difference of an opinion and still be friends that's a hard thing. So many people give up on stuff because they think that, oh, he does this or he does that or whatever. And we have different opinions and we can still talk and we can still go through that. So.
Yeah, I like our friendship because we are very, not even politically, but like, we're just different people. Like we're totally different. So it's cool to get different perspectives. It's cool to just talk to you and about life and our kids and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, you were saying you go in 100%, right, with whatever you're doing. That reminded me of Chris Peterson, the UW old coach and the old BSU coach. But it's like, if you're going to, and I use this with my players and my students, I'm like, hey, if you're in class, like, be in class, do it 100%, do your work. If you got the TV on, if you got your phone there, like, you're half-assing it. So anyway, I know you dive in 100% with whatever you're doing. And that's kind of why baseball, I had to put on the back burner because I just couldn't.
You couldn't give it everything you wanted, and if you felt like you couldn't give it everything you wanted, then you were doing a disservice to yourself as well as a player. So
exactly,
that's cool, man. I mean, that's what it's all about. So I can't wait. I hope that we get to coach baseball together. It'll be exciting.
We'll make it happen
out there. Yeah,
maybe some slow pitch softball or something like that too.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey, Joe, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate you kind of filling in a pinch for me. I had a couple cancellations, and I've always wanted to interview you, but, it just made it so much easier. So thanks for taking the time, man.
No, this is fun. Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right, everyone. Well, this is the end of the show. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.